Peace and love, family. Welcome back to another episode of the Highly Emotional Podcast. Let me sage the room. I like to start a lot of times with like cleansing my energy. Sometimes when you go throughout the day, you take on all this different type of energy. So just lighting some sage to cleanse it. Let me open up a window real quick. The way I usually do it is all negative energy must leave and all positive energy is welcome in this space. And so it shall be done. Let me put this somewhere. So today I've been doing a lot of thinking and I've been reading, and I actually did this really good podcast episode with this gentleman named Julian not too long ago, and he made me understand a couple things about myself in which I always feel like I have to clarify who I am, not just for other people, but for myself, so I can feel comfortable with being who I authentically am. And it always makes me come back to say, am I being true to myself? Am I truly being who I need to be for myself? Hold on. Let me take a break. I need to get my theme music pumping just so my energy is right. Give me 1 second. Okay, boom. So we back. So I had sat down with Julian on the podcast, and every single time that we had a conversation and I would describe like my spiritual essence and like, oh, this is spirituality. One thing that he made me realize is that a lot of times there's a version of me that feels like I have to people please people. I have to try to make people feel comfortable in order to present myself to them in a certain manner. And I was like, I dislike this because, if you've been tuned into all of the latest episodes, authenticity is where I'm striving to be right now. I want to be my authentic self. So in this podcast episode with Julian, it was emotional because I didn't realize that a lot of these things where I'm trying to justify why I'm acting this way, why I say things in this way, stemmed from when I was a child, because I felt like it wasn't okay for me to be who I needed to be for myself, because then it would be deemed bad by my parents, by my mom, by, my aunt, so on and so forth. And I realize now that when I present a certain type of information or when I say something that is emotionally true to myself, I feel that I have to doctor it up for the sake of you, the listener, not just for the sake of just you as the listener, but for the world, because I have this fear of people perceiving me as a bad person. And the more that I sat with this idea for the last couple of days, I realized that came from my childhood. It came from me believing that if I did certain things, if I said a certain thing, that it would make me be viewed as a bad person. And I was like, am I truly a bad person based upon my emotions? Because I bring somebody certain context to a certain situation. And then the crazy thing is that, like, when it comes to the universe always connects with me in so many ways that I can't even understand. So some people may not understand or agree. Kanye just dropped a song called Hail Hitler, and I don't really like to do like talking about drama and celebrities and stuff like that. When the song first came out, when people heard the chorus, everyone was like, Kanye is, he's praising Hitler and what he did and this and that. And when I first seen this, I was like, what is it? Like, what is the hidden context? Because I'm too woke for the bullshit. I'm too woke to just follow the narrative of the world. And my mind is such a deep, in-depth thinking system that I have to decode things like if it's the Da Vinci Code. So if you don't know, the song Hail Hitler is out. It's been stripped from social media. It's been stripped from all streaming platforms, YouTube, everything along those lines. And I was like, what is so bad about this song? So I had to go listen to it. And in the song, yeah, the hook of the song is Hail Hitler, you know, all my niggas, Nazi nigga, Hail Hitler. And I'm just like, oh, you know, it's Kanye antics, sure, whatever. But when I listened to the song, there was a lot of things that I could relate to. Maybe not the whole Hail Hitler thing, cause that's just something that I may not agree with or understand based upon the time that it happened. But the words and the lines, one of the things that he said is he was like, they don't understand the things I say on Twitter, right? But he said they never help him to try to get back his children. And I remember that when I was a young father, how it felt to be a part of the system for them to take my children away from me. I thought that if I paid this amount that it would help me build a relationship with my children, only to get fucked over by the system and then them to tell me, hey, this has nothing to do with the custody of your children. But not only that, anytime it came to a point where I tried to see my children, the system would always criminalize me in the sense that I had to have all these things in order to be a benefactor to my child. And I was like, why do I relate to this Kanye line? Why do I relate to this? And then he said, I have all the money and the fame, but still can't get back my children. And I was like, damn. So the context of this song is so deep. And he said, fuck it, I'm the villain now. And I was like, well, Kanye, if you're dealing with all these emotional things, how could you be the villain when all you want to do is love your children? See, I get the antics the world runs with, like the media. Like, I get it. Kanye is combating it by saying Hail Hitler. He's combating against the system because the system is always going to write you off as a black man, an angry black man, you know, a minority, crazy, all these things. But what he's doing is he's playing the villain now, based upon the system already being the villain to many of us men. Not even just black men, but men in general. You know how hard it is to be a great parent to your children when the system is actually beneficial for women. For them to get help, you have to put your baby's father on child support. Now, that's not what this whole conversation is about. But it just gave me a context, and I was like, damn, the moment that Kanye says something that he feels is authentically true to his emotions, everybody makes him go like he's crazy. He's instantly the villain. He's instantly the bad guy. And I was like, damn, what is the moral of this whole Kanye thing? And like I said, I don't talk about celebrities. I don't do drama. Fuck all that shit. But the more I listen to the song, I realize what Kanye is doing. Kanye is talking about the system, the child support system, the government, in which what it does to black people and what it does to fathers and what it does to children when they separate the children from their fathers. I realize all this, and the more I listen to the song, it's not a song that is necessarily against people who is of Jewish religious beliefs. What it is against the people who own the system. And so therefore Kanye is sitting here saying Hail Hitler. Now I don't agree. I don't give a fuck, because truly it's not going to make my life any better. It doesn't pay my bills, but this correlated with me because anytime that I implement my true emotional state and I state how I feel vocally, emotionally, as a father, as a man, as a spiritual person, a lot of times when it comes to that hive mentality that we talked about before, the hive mind, they instantly make you a villain. And so by being constantly contained, constantly being villainized in my entire life, Now, when it comes to things that I say that is true to my innate being, to who I am authentically, I have to sit here and switch it around so that someone can perceive what I'm saying. And then at that point, I'm being a people pleaser. This stems to what happened when I was a child, because I felt like I would be dealing with something emotionally, but because I said it in this way, or I would react because I was dealing with it internally, therefore, people couldn't love me for who I am. So when you look at this Kanye situation and I compare it to me as a child, I realized what Kanye is doing is because people don't listen to him, just like people didn't listen to me. Therefore, they go out here and say he's crazy, this, and that. But he got tired of the antics and he said, fuck it. I'm going to be the villain now. And then that's kind of where we all get. We sit here and we people please. We sit here and try to be perfect for the world so that the world can perceive you as a great person. Talking to myself. At some point, your shadow takes over. And your shadow says, fuck it, I'm the villain now. I'm going to do extreme things to get my point across. But truthfully, I'm not the villain. And so this all correlates to this book I've been reading. Becoming Supernatural. I brought this up before, but there's a part in here, right, in which let me get the mic right. There's a part in here, right, where it was like no familiar past, no predictable future, right? When you living in these loops, when you keep on going back to your past, like how I keep on trying to be this perfect person by being spiritually acceptable to the world, to the listener, to the viewers, to people in the spiritual community, what I'm doing is I'm going back to a part in my life, in my past, and I'm reliving it. So every time that I go back into my old self, into my defense mechanism of trying to present myself in the world as something that I'm not, what I'm doing is I'm people pleasing, and then I keep getting the same outcome, taking your energy back, your energy and power back. So when you focus on your past things that you're dealing with, all the past behavior, what happens is it creates your future also. So you'll end up living in this loop. So I realized when I was talking to Julian is that anytime I sit here and say, I gotta be a good person and I gotta be that, I'm living in that loop because I had to try to be a good son, a good person, a good boy, a good this, a good that. The thing about it is, like, spiritually, I know what my intentions are. I know who I am within me. So why do I have to present it to you as if I'm not already good? I'm being inauthentic to my true self. And it was just like, the more that I sat with this, the more I became to get uncomfortable with this. It's like you do all these things to people please people because you want people to accept you, but what it is that you need to learn how to accept yourself. I don't accept who I am, so therefore the world isn't going to accept me, when authentically I should just accept who I am no matter how I say it. And those who overstand, understand, and understand, quantum stand, all the things that I'm saying will resonate. It will resonate with them and their reality. And not only that, I can raise the frequency in the awareness of the world, because emotions is the language of God. So if emotions are the language of God, when I am controlling my emotions, when I'm manipulating my emotions based upon how you perceive me, I'm being inauthentic with myself. And within myself, I was made in the image of God. So the more I sit with this shit, the more I realize that there's some things that I have to work on. I have to work on being authentically me. If my emotions is saying fuck no, then I have to say that. Fuck no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it because I'm compromising myself. If I want to do it, then I need to do it. Then I should be able to do it because that's what I want to do. It's my God-given right to make the choice and decisions that I want to do. And if you don't get it, then it's fuck you. It's so hard for us to say fuck you to the people that we love because we think that in order to get their love, we have to compromise who we are. I had to compromise myself my entire life to get the love that I want. When if I really think about it, I just needed somebody to love me for who I am. If I'm sad, if I'm mad, if I'm being a quote unquote bad kid, I deserve still to be loved. And then it made me even go deeper just now. What if when we don't get our love, we become Hitler? What if that's all it took to stop Hitler from being Hitler was for his mother to love him, or the people? Because Robert Edward Grant said that the reason why Hitler hated Jews is because he was Jewish. Maybe if his own people would have just loved him and treated him differently, or treated him the way that he deserved, maybe he wouldn't be the Hitler that we perceive who he is now. Maybe even with Kanye, maybe if Kanye was loved by his own people, he wouldn't be the Kanye that he is now. But because he is the Kanye now, you can stop being the Hitler that you may become if you don't address your trauma, if you don't be your authentic self, if you don't get the love that you deserve. Because it's not even about my mother or my father or my people loving me. It's about me loving myself. When you become of this age, you have to learn how to love yourself for who you are. If I'm angry, I have to learn that, to love that about me. If I'm chubby, if I'm skinny, if I'm ugly, whatever the fuck the world is, I'm perfectly how I need to be because that's the way that the Most High created me. I don't need to change. If I feel sad, it's okay for me to feel sad. If I'm mad, if I'm happy, if I'm sexually turned on, all these feelings are okay. The only time that they're not okay is when they compromise your emotional state because you didn't give them attention. Tuning into the new potentials in the quantum, getting beyond our body, our environment, and time isn't easy, but it's worth it because once we disconnect from three-dimensional reality, we enter a whole other reality called the quantum, the realm of infinite possibility. So when I go beyond my emotions, when I go beyond my past, when I go beyond the loops, then I can pull down from the quantum field a reality that I couldn't even imagine. We have such a hard time believing these things exist because we've been told and we've been living in this cycle of bullshit so fucking long. You've been holding on to your fucking trauma like a fucking crutch, and it's getting sickening, bro. It's tiring. When do we change? When do we acknowledge these things? It's so crazy. I didn't acknowledge how much of a people person I was. And the crazy thing is every single time I'm like, man, I'm not going to be a people pleaser anymore. And then I become a people pleaser again. The quantum field is an invisible field of energy and information, or you could say a field of intelligence or consciousness that exists beyond space and time. Nothing physical or material exists there. It's beyond anything you can perceive with your senses. This unified field of energy and information is what governs all the laws of natures. So when I forget what I'm identifying as, when I stop identifying as just Tuesday, and I just be the energy, the vibration, the motion, the creation of all, of the divine, then I can tap into something special beyond the limits of my mind, the limits of my beliefs, the limits of my perspective. I can do things that I've never done before. But that's the thing. I've been so authentically true to being unauthentic that I keep living in the loops, in the cycles of people pleasing, in the cycles of trying to make everyone happy except for myself. What is happiness for me? What is happiness for self? It's crazy. Like when you read these things, it's so crazy. When you are in the sweet spot of the generous present moment, your familiar past and predictable future no longer exists, and now you are ready to create new possibilities in life. Now let's just think about that. If I can live in the present moment, if I can just experience things without trying to put them in a box, without trying to compromise how I feel, without trying to compartmentalize my emotions, my reactions, my beliefs into this little box, then the quantum field would open up and push me in directions in which I never thought I would be able to experience. Instead of trying to be something, maybe we should just be. Maybe we don't have to be perfect at all. Maybe we already are. I mean, God doesn't make mistakes, right? So if I can just stop identifying and stop allowing my childhood trauma to control how I do things, then I can be true to myself. And when I'm true to myself, then everything will gravitate towards me because I already know what I want for myself. So that's the thing. I don't need to justify who I am. I don't need to justify my relationship with God. I don't need to justify my words, my emotional state. I don't have to doctor it up for your benefit. Because if you understand me, then you know that my intentions are never to harm. Because they're not. Because if my intentions were to harm, then I would be out here doing things to strip people down or to hurt people, but I'm never doing that. But I have to know for myself that that's not what my intentions are. Pretending to be spiritual, pretending to love these people, pretending to do this, that's inauthenticity. So to anybody who doesn't get this message, who doesn't understand the Hail Hitler concept, fuck you. To the inauthentic version of myself, fuck you. But I thank you for existing. I thank you for being there, because now that I have this recollection and this understanding of my inauthentic self, I can accept it. And then when I notice that I'm doing that, I can continue to work on me. It's never about just trying to be perfect, because you already are perfect. And when you're trying to be perfect, you're in the state of trying. So I have to just be. I have to be authentically me at all times. When I think about all these people who were these leaders, right? So we got this guy, right? I don't even know how to pronounce the name correctly. I'm not gonna bullshit you guys, but this is a great book, right? When I sit here and look at these guys, right, I wonder, like, how did they go through life, like, doing all these good things? And I realized that they were just being authentically them. They were never trying. They were never forcing themselves to be perfect. They just experienced life the way that they needed to be. We have to break through the the matrix structure of trying to be good for the sake of approval of the world. Just be authentically you. And your heart never lies. You know when you're doing something out of spite. You know when you're trying to impress people. Stop being a fucking people pleaser. And this is to myself. Stop being a fucking people pleaser. When I look myself in the eyes, stop being a people pleaser, man. Be authentically you, because you know how good of a person you are. You know how amazing you are. You know that your intentions are always good. You are a great person. You've always been a great person. You've never went out your way to try to hurt someone intentionally. The only thing that makes you flawed and adds more trauma to your life is you reacting based upon the trauma that was placed upon you. So if you are reacting in a negative, low vibrational state based upon something that was presented to you in your reality, you're putting more trauma onto you. And what's one of the universal laws of attraction? What you put out, you'll get back. So put out positive energy, put out great energy, be positive, be kind, be loving, be authentic, and you will get it back. You'll get it back. So before we judge somebody, decode the message and understand why this pops up in your reality and why it exists. Why do you disagree with it? It's not about being perfect. It's about continuously striving to grow. Because you deserve this. You deserve to be the best version of yourself and get everything that you deserve in your reality. I just want to thank the universe for my experience. I just want to thank the experience of the experience for experiencing the experience. And I will continue to authentically work on myself and be the best version of myself as much as I can. And I will not stop. So if you enjoyed this conversation, you enjoyed this podcast episode, make sure that you hit a like, or subscribe. Make sure that you share it with your friends and family. Make sure you guys go check out the Hail Hitler song. Maybe I got it wrong. And if you disagree, it is what it is. I really don't care that much. I truly only care about myself. So till next time, peace, love, light, big swim.